if I had a general like disappointment besides just like not caring, it's a mix of what were the stakes in this movie and how complicated can we make this plot before I stop caring even more. And those are like the two kind of go-tos I go to, because like the stakes in the movie, I constantly are asking myself, like, so if they don't do this, what happens? If they don't complete this mission, what happens?
The arms dealer gets more money?
He gets more money. The closest we get is if, you know, Whitaker and Kuskov get what they want, the Afghan army resistance is going to get murdered or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. And I will also say, outside of the movie, this movie doesn't age well because of historical reasons.
Obviously, it's not in the movie, but history would say that we helped Bin Laden, and then it kind of came back.
Cameron Shaw was probably supposed to be Osama bin Laden.
Exactly, and that's what the weirdest part about this movie. Because if I'm not wrong, if I'm not mistaken, Osama bin Laden, like, he studied in like some either U.S. universities, like he West, actually, he went to the West and like studied in some pretty like prominent colleges.
Please forgive the theatricals. It's a hangover from my Oxford days.
And then came back, and obviously, you know, everything happened as it did. But like, that's
you mean at some point they had trouble at the airport?
I'm sorry we missed the concert. We had some trouble at the airport. Can't imagine why.
Yeah. The last movie, at least we had something very specific, right? Like, if they don't stop, oh my God, I forgot his name already. If they don't stop, was it
Max Zorin?
If they don't stop Zorin, Silicon Valley goes.
Millions of lives.
Millions of people. If the last movie before that, Octopussy,
a bomb's going to go off,
the bomb's going to go off,
millions of people are going to die.
Happen. If the last movie before that, it's like For Your Eyes Only, it's like, if they get the ATAC, like that could ruin things for the Cold War, but
like
also
millions of people are potentially going to die.
There's a personal stakes there that actually like makes sense, is that like she's not going to get the revenge on her father. And so you're like, okay, I'm like hooked on that. Even like the bigger ones like Goldfinger or, you know, From Russia with Love, there's like a little bit, either From Russia with Love, there's the personal stakes between their relationship, but then like in Goldfinger, it's like, oh, well, the gold's going to get, be destroyed, and this will change the world economy. Like, there's some big stakes in these movies. This one, I'm like, I'm grasping for straws here, guys. Like, what am I concerned about? Like, why should I care if Bond doesn't succeed, other than either he's going to die, or this relationship that he's kind of sprung up with this girl is going to go south. Like, there wasn't anything strong enough for me to be like, I really care about this movie. And then on top of that, like everything is overly, like, Charlie, you mapped it out, because I have no idea. I can't begin to like think of, from diamonds to opium to weapons. Like, it's just all the complicated stuff that is an Octopussy.
It's throwing so much stuff at you so that you just assume that it's really smart, and that you won't think too hard about it. Yeah. But even, like we said, even with Octopussy, when you scrutinize it, it doesn't make sense. But it doesn't matter, really, because all you need to know is there's a bomb, and Bond needs to go stop it. And if he doesn't stop it, Octopussy, Bond himself, everybody's going down. So it really works. Whereas with this, I will say a fun little twist on that, though, is that Bond creates his own ticking clock. Like he starts the bomb, and then he deactivates it, and then, like I've been saying over the last couple of movies, it is nice to see the ticking clock actually do something. Like, we do actually get to see the bomb explode. So, I do appreciate that. But what you're saying is this movie lacks any real... I mean, like, at one point, it's Bond and Kara just... I'll just say Kara. Bond and Kara just have to get away. And so it's like, okay, you don't want them to get caught. But the overall plot... in a way, it's even worse than Octopussy and For Your Eyes Only, because it has that pointless nature to it, and it doesn't have any kind of payoff.
Yeah, I like this stuff with Kara, but then the whole, like, grand scheme thing is like, what?
So Koskov, it all opens with him defecting so that he can plant this false information with the Brits.
General Leonid Pushkin is why I defect.
Defecting is difficult, and it could very well end your life. I mean, he risks his life in multiple ways.
How many times have you done this before?
You're the first.
And it's all a ruse to get Pushkin killed.
I have here secret directive from Pushkin, Smirtspionam. God forbid this might lead to nuclear war. Unless Pushkin can be, how do you say, put away.
Which, at one point in the movie, they're even like, well, why don't we just have Necros go kill him?
But if Pushkin is still alive on the last day of the conference, kill him!
It's like the whole defection plot doesn't... It's just like Octopussy, where I was like, why do you need to do all this complicated jewelry stuff? Why don't you just smuggle a bomb into Berlin? Why don't you cut out this whole complicated mess? Why are you doing this defection thing? It doesn't make any sense. And that's like part one, right? We'll talk about diamonds and all that crap. Part one is just defection, and it's all to put a target on Pushkin. And even then, it's like, Smirtspionum, we need to kill different MI6 operatives to convince them that Pushkin really is crazy. It's like doing all this complicated stuff when really they just needed to send Necros to go shoot Pushkin in the face. It's too much. What I wish had been the case, for the sake of us caring, I wish the defection would have been real. I wish that Koskov would have just become the ally to Bond like Saunders was, right? It's like Koskov kind of becomes his ally who is helping him take down this dangerous General Pushkin who has resurrected Smirtspionum because he wants to fight with the West.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Right away, it's like, I care. Like, suddenly I'm like, Bond is going to war to take out this guy who wants to take out his guys, and did in the opening. Like, took out 004, kill Saunders at some point. On top of that, had the movie gone that route, I kind of wish they would have switched the actors for Koskov and Pushkin, right? So that we would have had our good old Gimli. Gimli would have played Koskov, who defects to the West and teams up with Bond to go take out Pushkin, who would be played by the guy who played Koskov, if you're following what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That would have been a cool movie. That would have been really interesting, because that would have been taking old material that we're familiar with, Smirtspionum and Smersh, and applying that to the newest Bond movie with a new Bond himself, That's already a better plot than what we got, because, again, it's like, well, this is a spy movie, so we need to introduce certain elements of, like, backstabbing and twists and stuff. So the big twist is, Koskov was working with Necros the whole time, and it was a big ruse. But, again, just like Octopussy or even with Free Your Eyes Only, the point of the ruse, it was like trying to do one little thing, and in order to accomplish the one little thing, killing Pushkin, in order to accomplish that, they do all this really hard stuff. They literally defect to the West, and they have agents get killed. They do all this stuff just to kill Pushkin. And they could have done that any old time, because now let's move into phase two, why they did all this stuff. And as you've been pointing out, McCurdy, it doesn't lend to anything we give a shit about. Pushkin goes to see Whitaker. Whitaker's like, hey, you're about to make this big buy, and look how cool I am. Look at all my stuff. Anyway, these are the weapons you're going to buy. And Pushkin's like, we've canceled that order.
The order is canceled. Huh?
And, he's all pissed off. Like, you can't cancel it. And then flash forward, he's talking with Koskov.
Pushkin wants the money back.
Don't worry. We've convinced the British that Pushkin is a danger. They will send their best man, James Bond, to eliminate him.
Well, I'm not convinced. Necros can do it.
We should just kill Pushkin, but the Brits are going to come kill him. But, we should just kill him ourselves. Like, again, canceling each other out and just, like, complicating things in a stupid way. Like, they should have just killed Pushkin from the start. But anyway, that was phase one. Phase two. There's a deposit of $50 million that Whitaker has in a Swiss bank account. And Pushkin, who... Again, for some reason, I mean, again, if you substitute in Gogol, maybe it makes sense. But like, and that certainly would have helped, right?
Because it's an established story that we have been following for all of the Moore films into this movie.
Again, we're missing something behind the scenes where we almost needed that scene from Octopussy where all the Russian generals are together, and Koskov's like, we need to buy American weapons, and the others are like, we need to focus on détente and peace, But because we don't have that, we just have this scene where Pushkin shows up and he cancels the order.
You'll return our deposit of $50 million within the next 48 hours.
He wants the $50 million back, right? The deposit of $50 million. So he's like, I need that back in 2 days. So what they do is they then try to kill Pushkin, which I don't know why, because does that mean they then get to keep the $50 million? Well, probably not. So they're simultaneously trying to kill him, and they think they succeed.
I didn't kill him. Bond did.
I told you the British believe me. I told you.
And then they're also trying to do this deal for the opium. So they're basically just trying to raise $500 million to then buy these weapons. Again, it's like throw as many ingredients at the audience and just hope that nobody asks questions. So $50 million in a Swiss bank account.
We know that you've had our money in your Swiss account.
Becomes diamonds from Amsterdam.
I'll signal Amsterdam to ship the diamonds.
Becomes opium from Afghanistan.
He arranged for the Russians to buy a large quantity of high-tech weapons. He's using the down payment to buy this opium instead.
Turns into weapons from America. So basically, because the order was canceled, they're going to turn 50 million into 500 million and then purchase the weapons. So why do they want these guns? Is it just for Afghanistan, for the war? Who cares? Why would Russia be against having better weapons? Why would they cancel this order? Why wouldn't they double the order? What's in it for Koskov? Why kill Pushkin? How was he standing in their way if they just used the $50 million down payment to buy the opium anyway?
I'm just going to sum that up and saying I don't care. I don't care.
It would have been much better if Whitaker had simply been both a war profiteer who wants war between Russia and the West, but also is just a guy who wants to see war because he loves it.
War. War has always been man's main occupation. You know, fools tell us his greatest accomplishments were the wheel or the alphabet. I say it's a battering ram and gunpowder.
So he's both greedy and crazy. Whitaker should have been the main bad guy who loves war so much that he wants to stir up World War III and make a shit ton of money. You know what I mean? Like,
that would be cool.
Because what is, like, Koskov is trying to buy these weapons, right? For the war in Afghanistan. Why would the Russian government be against better weapons? It doesn't make any fucking sense unless it's Whitaker trying to stir up World War III, which is like major stakes, like major stakes, right? That's something to give a shit about. But like Russia on like one general wanting weapons and the other one canceling them for no reason. Like Pushkin had no reason to cancel it. There are no emotional stakes either way, other than just like the Afghans get.
It reminds me of like the last movie we talked about. One of the issues was that you said that Zoran doesn't get the scene to explain his motives.
Yeah,
and I feel like that was in like we don't want to be this comic book movie where the villain has this monologue, but like you kind of need those scenes so that you kind of understand, okay, this is their motivation, this is why they're doing these things.
Yeah.
And in that same regard, I feel like that what you're saying, it makes sense, and in that like we're missing either a motivation or something there, a little more clear motivation. And like that's I think, again, it goes back to stakes and clarity in this movie are sorely lacking. There's no clarity in the plot. Like I'm already lost in half of what you said. Like
where's the
care.
disagreement between Koskov and Pushkin? What do they disagree on? Because it's one thing if Koskov's just trying to make money, which no doubt he is, but it's like the money is still being funneled into the purchase of weapons. If he's just trying to keep the $500 million, then that's just typical bad guy stuff. But he's not. He's trying to buy these weapons so that they can fight in Afghanistan. So, like, why would two Russian generals disagree over the purchase of kick-ass weapons? It's stupid.
I could see people making the judgment call on us, saying like, well, why are you looking into this so much? But I think that...
Why wouldn't you?
But why wouldn't you? But I do think that like this is important because like having clarity in your story helps understand where all the pieces are, because if you don't understand where those pieces are, it makes it hard. It makes it easier to understand why should I care that Bond succeeds in his mission.
Yeah, exactly. And that can be big or small. I mean, we've been through this before where it's like you have the big world-ending stakes, and then you have, like in the case of The Man with the Golden Gun, you have the smaller, more personal stakes where, I mean, somebody even commented, they're like, okay, so at the end of The Man with the Golden Gun, what's the worst thing that could happen? And it's like, well, Bond dies, you know, and the world keeps turning, but within Bond's world, his reputation as being the best goes away. And the Solex stuff, who cares about the Solex and all that? But it was personal stakes versus world-ending stakes. A story can go either way, but we just need to understand as an audience the consequences of failure, and we just don't have that here.